Let's start with our first news. Henry Cejudo thought Khamzat beat Strickland, but overall, he said he actually thought Khamzat won this fight. And again, he was going for Strickland, but he's happy Strickland was able to get a victory over an undefeated opponent. It all came down to the second round. About a minute and a half into the fight, Strickland caught Khamzat with a beautiful right hand. Jab, boom, right hand. If you notice, the commentators didn't even catch it. They could do a better job describing when someone is actually hurt. He was hurt, you could see him on a shaky leg, but he stayed composed. He emphasized the timing, saying it was clean and perfectly placed, and that moment shifted momentum in the round. Strickland stayed calm and didn't rush, which made the sequence even more effective. Where he made the mistake, Kamaru said, was when he went for a takedown. Once you get hurt and start shooting for takedowns, it's not good. You almost need to keep a poker face, stay on your feet, act busy, and recover. Khamzat didn't fully recover there. That decision changed the rhythm of the exchange and allowed Strickland to reset and recover position in the round. He believes if Khamzat stayed composed, he could have avoided further damage in that sequence. In the first round, he struggled and held too much, and Strickland made him work. The weight cut seemed to affect him, and he eventually started to slow down. The pace and pressure from Strickland forced constant adjustments there. The second round was the most convincing round for Strickland. From what he saw, it could have been 4-1 or 3-2 Khamzat, but he still had Khamzat winning the fight overall. He said he will rewatch the fight tomorrow. Move on to another news. Team Khamzat believes they were robbed against Strickland. Team Khamzat camp is still not letting the Sean Strickland loss go. They made it very clear they believe they were robbed on the scorecards. Arman Sarukian especially did not hold back. Arman took to social media joking that they did not lose the fight. They got submitted by the judges. In another post, he doubled down and claimed that everyone watching knows what really happened inside the cage, making it obvious he believes Khamzat did enough to win. The fight itself has split the MMA community. Strickland clearly had success, with volume, pace, and overall striking output. But many fans and fighters pointed to Khamzat landing the more damaging shots throughout the fight. Analysts also point out that the rounds were extremely close, making the judges' decision even more controversial. Team Khamzat insists that key moments in the fight were not properly reflected in the final scorecards. They argue that when Khamzat landed clean and powerful shots, the momentum clearly shifted in his favor. Supporters of Strickland, however, emphasize his pace, volume, and ability to maintain pressure over multiple rounds. The disagreement has turned into one of the most discussed judging debates of the event. Arman also hinted that the reaction from fans proves the controversy is not going away anytime soon. As the debate continues, fighters and analysts are revisiting key exchanges from each round to determine who truly controlled the fight. Some argue that judging criteria once again came under scrutiny, especially regarding damage versus volume scoring. Others believe that the result reflects a very close and competitive matchup rather than a clear robbery. Despite the outcome, Team Khamzat remains vocal and confident in their stance that victory was taken away from them. The discussion is expected to continue as both sides present different interpretations of the same moments inside the cage, highlighting how subjective fight scoring can become in high-level MMA. Ultimately, the controversy adds more attention to the matchup and keeps both fighters at the center of ongoing debate in the division as fans await what comes next for both athletes in their careers. Move on to another news. Islam Makhachev thinks Sean Strickland is unhinged, but reveals Sean once told him that he likes Dagestan's family values. In an interview with Red Corner MMA, Islam said Strickland is a bit of an unhinged man. I think he took too many blows to the head. I met him in person 3 years ago in the UFC and we talked. We talked about our culture, the traditions of Dagestan, and he said he really likes it. We discussed some family values and he told me he wants to have a family like ours, keeping it private. He didn't want his family to be connected to the fight business. Islam added that his impression of Strickland comes from multiple interactions over the years. He explained that Strickland often speaks very directly and without filters, which makes people sometimes label him as unpredictable. However, Islam clarified that during their conversation, Strickland showed respect for Dagestan traditions. He emphasized that despite the aggressive persona inside the octagon, Strickland can be surprisingly open in personal discussions. Islam also noted that fighters often have different sides depending on competition and media pressure. He said that fans only see the fighting version of athletes but not the private conversations. According to Islam, Strickland expressed admiration for strong family structures and traditional values during their meeting. He reportedly said he wanted to keep his personal life away from cameras and the fighting spotlight. Islam found this interesting given Strickland's public persona, which is often loud and controversial. He concluded that people are more complex than what appears on social media or during fight week interviews. Islam said that respect can exist even between fighters who have very different personalities and backgrounds. He added that such conversations help bridge understanding between fighters from different regions and cultures. Islam emphasized Dagestan's emphasis on close family bonds and discipline as something he takes pride in. He suggested Strickland appreciated those values, even if his personality appears chaotic in public. According to Islam, those private conversations remain respectful and grounded in mutual understanding. He finished by reflecting that fighters often share more similarities behind the scenes than fans realize. He said that respect between competitors is important in building long-term respect inside MMA and beyond competition itself. Ultimately, Islam highlighted that understanding opponents outside the cage adds perspective to the sport, and its athletes' respect move on to another news. Khamzat just fired another message directly at Strickland, telling him to let him know when he's ready, making it clear he still wants that middleweight rematch despite all the recent light heavyweight talk. But while Khamzat is focused on Strickland, the UFC has completely different plans in motion. And now, a massive new update has revealed exactly what the UFC is preparing behind the scenes. Oscar Willis appeared on Submission Radio and revealed that the UFC's current plan is not to keep Khamzat at middleweight, but instead, move him up permanently to light heavyweight and book him against Costa for the interim light heavyweight championship, while Olberg remains inactive as the undisputed champion. The matchup makes perfect sense. Khamzat and Costa have had serious tension and bad blood for years, dating back to their infamous altercation at the UFC Performance Institute. Fans have wanted this fight for a long time, and now the UFC may finally pull the trigger, this time with an interim title. On the line at 205 lbs, let's dive into what Oscar Willis had to say. Do you think there's any chance Dana White and the UFC try to talk him into a rematch because the fight is so big? No. They already know what they're going to do for him anyway. Costa. Yeah. I don't think it's a coincidence Paulo was there. And then you just do an in title. You know what I mean? And honestly, if you're Paulo, you probably have to look at that and take a lot of confidence from it, right? You know, because even in the first round where it was, he gave that takedown up real easy, and then you're like, okay, so this is where he's going to be scrambly and wacky, and he really didn't do much. He actually didn't, and still that tired handed out to a crazy degree in that second round. It looked like he was done. So if I'm Paulo, you probably just think I'll survive for 5 minutes, the fight's yours. We are probably looking at being like Whitaker. The UFC is clearly positioning this matchup as a major statement fight at 205 pounds, and fans are already reacting strongly to the potential clash between Khamzat and Costa in what could be a defining moment for both fighters' careers. Massive. Fight implications ahead. Confirmed update. Move on to another news. The MMA community is roasting Paddy Pimblett today after influencer Dean Alex posted footage of the two sparring. While Paddy did eventually make Dean throw up during the session, fans also noticed that Dean was landing clean shots on Paddy throughout the sparring footage. What's that? Say that you won't fight Paddy the Body. Do you know who I am? Question marks for clip. That. Well, I'm going to be sick. To read off some of the top replies to that video. Paddy Pimblett was almost knocked out. Paddy literally got rocked. 3 times by an influencer he just gassed out. This is a terrible look. Having to throw a dirty spinning move after getting battered on the feet is crazy work, not going to lie. How the hell was Paddy getting pieced up by a guy off the street might as well put me in there next with him at this point. Paddy got pieced up. The influencer ran out of gas, but he was outclassing a pro, and Paddy's striking is absolutely questioned. He would get punched up by your average 15-year-old amateur. Boxer? It's actually embarrassing. What did you guys think of the footage? Drop your opinions in the comments. The clip quickly spread across social media, with fans breaking down every exchange from the sparring session. Some argued that Dean Alex showed better timing and cleaner entries, despite being an influencer, not a full-time fighter. Others pointed out that sparring is not a fight, and that Paddy was clearly working on different pacing and movement patterns throughout the session still. The reaction online remained harsh, with many users focusing on the moments where Dean landed clean combinations and pushed forward aggressively. The debate continues as clips circulate with slowed-down replays and commentary breakdowns, adding more fuel to the discussion about paddy striking, and overall performance in training footage like this often goes viral, quickly shaping narratives around fighters even when the context is limited. Viewers continue to debate whether the sparring reflects real improvement or just isolated moments taken out of context, but the discussion has already become one of the most talked about training clips in recent MMA conversations online, highlighting how quickly opinions can shift based on short footage releases and social media reactions, shaping public perception of fighters' training sessions in modern MMA world. Move on to another news. Sean Brady believes his TKO loss to Michael Morales was a fluke. Brady is coming off a dominant, unanimous decision win over Buckley at UFC 328 over the weekend. Following the victory, Brady said he believes he deserves to be back in the top 5 of the welterweight division. What happened with Morales was a fluke. Anybody can get caught. But there were a lot of things leading into that fight which I try not to talk about because I don't want to sound like I'm making excuses. But what you just seen was me locked in, for 15 minutes present as can be, and when I'm there I can do that to anybody in the world. And I wasn't there for Morales, and unfortunately it cost me, but at the end of the day it's my decision to go in there and fight. There's going to be a winner and a loser. But that wasn't my best self, and that's why I'm saying I deserve to be back in the top 5. I beat Leon Edwards. I thought I was going to get a title shot. I knew that wasn't going to happen. Then they asked me to fight Morales, a big, scary, up-and-coming undefeated guy. I take that fight. Then I get matched up with a knockout artist like Buckley. So it's like I take these fights, I deserve big fights. Not that these guys aren't big fights, but I deserve the Usmans, the big names. All of those fights when I fought Leon and went out there and dominated him, that's what I was saying in that moment. I felt like my performances were not being fully respected in the rankings. And I believe consistency should matter more than just one setback, especially when that setback came from a fight where I wasn't at my absolute peak physically or mentally. I still respect Morales as an opponent. He did what he had to do, but I know what I'm capable of when I'm fully locked in and prepared. And that version of me is a problem for anyone in the division moving forward. I just want the opportunity to prove it again on a bigger stage. The work continues. Every camp, every round, every session I am building toward another run at the top of the division. No excuses, only progress. Move on to another news. Demetrius Johnson believes Khamzat may have overtrained leading into the Strickland fight. Khamzat spent a large portion of camp working with coach Sam Calvada ahead of the matchup. Calvada has faced criticism over the years from some fans and fighters who believe his training methods can be too intense and leave athletes worn down before fight night. In my personal opinion, I think he trains too hard. There is a point in time where when you're in shape, it does you. You can't get any further. Your cardio threshold only goes so high. So when your cardio is already high and you're good to go, you can't push it beyond that. It's physically impossible. All you're going to get is diminishing returns, meaning I need to be able to bop, fail a takedown, drive, pop, move. I can do all these hard workouts. I have great condition. But can you perform when things are going away? When you do conditioning, there's a certain structure to it. Depending on how many weeks you are out, the first phase you're just getting in shape. The next phase is pushing the heart rate up as high as possible and letting it drop back to recovery levels before repeating it again. Then you progress into holding the heart rate at higher zones, pushing endurance under fatigue. Then another phase where you control rest time between rounds so your body adapts to stress. You can't just go full intensity every single day. Somebody has to be watching the sparring, managing the workload. If I spend all day drilling, sparring, lifting, and then go push my body even more outside the gym, you're just breaking yourself down. By the time you reach fight night, your body has already been through hell for 8 to 10 weeks. That used to be the norm back in the day, but now in 2026, there's way more science behind training. We have learned that less is more, and more is actually less in many cases. Recovery is a weapon. Rest is part of preparation. And that's the one thing I noticed. I love when fighters work hard, but sometimes working too hard doesn't give you the best result. You're better off taking time off, resetting mentally, relaxing, even stepping away from the gym. Instead of being in the gym twice a day, every day, sometimes the smartest training is recovery, balance, and coming back fresher and sharper for fight night.